coming up on our Week 18 edition of Broncos Weekend. We'll discuss some of the most noticeable differences on display last week at Arrowhead Stadium as the Broncos nearly knocked off the AFC West champions. Then we'll point out what you might expect as the Broncos host the LA Chargers on Sunday, hoping to secure their first win in the West this season. All that and so much more coming up right now on Broncos Weekend. For joining us for the final regular season edition of Broncos Weekend as your Denver Broncos are set to host the LA Chargers in their 2022 season finale this Sunday at Empower Field. I'm Alexis Perry, lucky enough to be joined by the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater and, of course, former Broncos offensive lineman Orlando Franklin. Good to see you, Big O.
Good to see you as well, AP and Steve.
Yes, sir.
Happy New Year's, guys.
Yes, Happy New Year to you. Well, guys, I will say, watching last week's game against the Chiefs, there was a stretch of time there where I thought we were going to be talking about a big upset this week, but unfortunately the Broncos weren't able to snap their losing streak against the Chiefs. 27-24 the final score. With 5 lead changes throughout the game, I think one of the biggest bright spots obviously was just how competitive the Broncos were in that game. So guys, with Jerry Rosburg holding the reins, what do you see as the biggest difference really in all 3 phases last week in comparison to weeks prior?
Well, I would say offensively, they looked like they were focused. It looked like they had a certain game plan, a certain thing that they wanted to do, and they were able to do those things. They were able to run the ball effectively. They were able to complete passes. Now, Russell Wilson still was in the shotgun 50 of the 70 offensive plays that we ran, but he was super effective running play-action passes, and they did everything they had to do to be able to move the ball and give us an opportunity to win that football game, and I'm sure that the defense really appreciated that. Defensively, they came out, they played well like they normally do, and special teams, I got to say, they stepped it up to another level. All in all, I think the team played really well. Unfortunately, weren't able to get the win, but considering it's such a great football team that we were going up against, they were playing hard, playing all their guys. I still consider it a little bit of a win near the end of the season.
Just creating edges. Offensively, that's what I will remember about this Week 17 matchup, is the fact that the Broncos were able to find a way to create edges, whether that's in the run game or when that's called it and run it design plays for Russell Wilson. And then we saw the pass and play that Russ saw that there was nothing there. Okay, I'm going to take it myself. But that's about creating edges and being able to knock guys off of the line of scrimmage. This was one game out of very many this year that we finally saw this offense start creating somewhat of an identity where they were able to bring the fight to the opposing team rather than sit there and absorb. Russ was quick with his decisions, and they were called it in design run plays for him. You got to the edge where he was able to now read the field, have a shorter read, and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take care of it with my legs. So I thought Justin Alton did a heck of a job in his first showcasing as a play caller in the National Football League, because he knew exactly what Russell Wilson and this whole entire football team needed in order to be successful throughout the course of a game.
Yeah, Steve, how do you want to see Justin Alton really build on that performance last week against the Chiefs, this week against the Chargers?
Well, I thought it was a good first performance, and I'd like to see him come out and do the same thing. We were, again, effective at running the ball, and I think that's one of the keys that we're going to have to take into this game against the Chargers. So I'd like to see us step up the run game even more, put more pressure on teams, find more ways to get Latavius Murray and Chase Edmonds the ball, because they are, I think, the feature backs right now, the playmakers when you're running the ball, and I'd like to see them, take the lead on this thing.
Yeah, Rosberg said that they need to improve because they did lose that game. So where do you want to see improvement?
Just continue to find ways to showcase the other 10 guys on the field, not with their last name, not Wilson, right? Quick passing game. I love what Justin Alton did last week with how he called the game for Russell Wilson, where there wasn't as many deep shot opportunities where Russ had to sit back there and, oh my goodness gracious, I got to hold on to it and try to fire the ball down the field. No, let me get the ball to Jerry Jeudy and see what Jerry Judy's going to do for this football team. Let me throw it to Cortland Sutton and let's go get those yards after the catch. When you're firing on all cylinders offensively, it's never about one guy, it's about the whole entire team. And last week week's game plan, for me, what I saw, it didn't matter that Dalton Reisner got hurt and now Quinn Bailey, who's a tackle, had to move into the left guard position because they were calling plays that they said, hey, you know what, this play is good enough for Quinn Bailey to go out there and have success. Right. This play is not just about Russ having success. So I love the team aspect of it as far as what I saw last week, and we got to continue to build upon that because football is the ultimate team sport and we all need to rely on each other in order to be successful.
Yeah, well, as for the Broncos' opponent this week, the red-hot LA Chargers, who were able to string together 4 straight wins down the stretch and clinch their first playoff berth since 2018. But I think it's safe to say that the Broncos, they will relish in their role to be the spoilers here this week when it comes to that stretch. So what's really clicked for the LA Chargers over the past 4 games, guys?
It's simple. They get the ball to their playmakers. You got Mike Williams on the outside out there doing his thing. Keenan Allen is back in the slot, and he's the dog that he was before he was injured. Obviously the quarterback Justin Herbert is masterful at getting the ball to all the different guys. And I failed to mention Austin Eckler, who just got Offensive Player of the Week for the AFC. They have some playmakers on this team, and I think they do a great job. They've been doing a great job, especially these last 4 weeks, of getting those guys the ball in situations where they can make plays with their legs after they get the ball.
We're getting healthy at the right time. All right, that's been the big quarrel this year. When you look at the Denver Broncos, the 2022 Denver Broncos, I think we had 22 people on IR, right? So that hurts this football team. So that's what's been helping them. They already have an absolute beast in Austin Eckler at the running back position. That this kid runs right now in whatever year he's in, and being a veteran, being on that second contract, he looks, every time I watch him, it looks like he's that rookie that didn't get drafted. So when you have guys that are having that mindset where they're never content with where they're at, but also you're able to start getting back healthy towards the end of the season, man, it becomes scary. Keenan Allen continues to be one of the best wide receivers in the league and shows you that he could beat man-to-man coverage. Doesn't matter what cornerback is out there or what slot corner's out there as well. And then Mike Williams, it's like they have 3 wide receivers on this football team that are over 200 pounds. These are some big boys that are physical, and they're playing a physical brand of football right now leading into the postseason.
All right, well, still to come here on Broncos Weekend, we'll take a look at a couple of the big plays from the Broncos' Week 17 game against the Chiefs that we'd love to see again this week in the Broncos' final game of the season. Don't go anywhere.
DT was our number 1 guy. His play spoke for itself.
Thomas is there and makes the catch.
He could do just about anything on the football field.
Demaryius Thomas out over the 45. Here we go.
We set out for him to be the most dominant receiver here.
Pass caught, one-handed, the catch of the night.
He was electrifying.
Play at a time, that's all we need to do.
He was one of a kind.
DT's got it, touchdown Denver.
He was a defensive coordinator's worst nightmare, but for me, boy, he was just a gift.
Welcome back to Broncos Weekend, everyone. Time for some X's and O's with Steve Atwater and Big O. And you guys, we talked last week about the possibility of an Albert O sighting, and that is exactly what we got on Sunday. The Broncos' third-year tight end was targeted 6 times in Kansas City, and he was able to come down with 3 of them, including this 25-yard catch in the end zone to put the Broncos up 17-13 in the third quarter. So, Steve, what worked on this play in order for it to be successful?
Yeah, well, the previous play was a penalty by the Chiefs, so we end up with a 2nd and 1, and the Chiefs were expecting a run, especially the linebacker number 54. Oh man, he was planning on making a stop in the backfield, and guess what? It was a pass. And Russell Wilson did a great job of faking the run, dropping back, and then Albert O did a great job of running the route, getting a little bit wide so the linebacker couldn't get out there to him, and then bending it back inside. And just a beautiful play execution. And I got a little nervous right there at the end. It looked like he bobbled it just a little bit, but he was able to reel it in and score a beautiful touchdown.
Yeah, he needed that one.
Justin Alton playing chess, right? While everybody else is playing checkers. 2nd and 1. That's a heavy rundown in the National Football League. And then what does he do as well? I'm going to put 2 tight ends in there. When they run this play, you could tell that this coaching staff has been grinding. They've been sleeping in those rooms up there at the facility, right? Because you know immediately right there and then how KC is going to play. When you put 2 tight ends to a nub side, side, right, they're going to tighten down that defense. And for Alberto and the other tight end, they eat up that space immediately, right?
Yes.
And they put that safety in conflict. You've played safety. Imagine having two tight ends, one running a 4-4 that has his hand on the dirt, but now they split off. As a safety, you have to pick. So you're in extreme conflict right there. And that's why this play is so successful, because it's saying, hey, you know what? It's 2nd and 2. Everybody thinks it's run. We're going 2 tight ends right now. You saw how the linebackers reacted, try to come downhill. But you see how Alberto explodes and puts that safety in a situation where he has to make a decision right there, right now. And then it becomes easy after that because of the play design, the call, the fact that you're playing chess while everybody else is out there playing checkers.
Guys, we also predicted a little special teams magic at the end of the show last week, and we saw that less than 5 minutes left in the first half. Alex Singleton and Eric Saubert, they came up with this huge play, Steve.
Yeah, well, offense had been doing well, defense had been doing well, and now finally special teams came up with a huge play. Alex Singleton was able to get off his block. You know, they were blocking him, trying to make sure he doesn't get down the field too quickly. He came off the block, got wide, was coming down, trying to contain. And fortunately, he was able to make this tackle, because if he had made this tackle, I believe this could have been a really long run. I think the only guy behind him was Jonathan Cooper, and I don't know if Coop could have ran this guy down, but just an amazing play by Alex Singleton, amazing awareness of him to not only tackle him, but get his hand right on the football, cause the fumble forward, and man, Eric Saubert right there, Johnny on the spot to be able to recover that fumble. Just a great play by special teams, and that was one we really needed.
That's some heads-up football right there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the thing that I'll always take away from this play is that just started inside linebacker out there. He knows that right after this play of going down there and sprinting 40 yards and having to block a bigger guy than him, that I got to go out there and play defense. Oh, by the way, it's Patrick Mahomes that I'm going against, right? This high passing aerial attack. But Alex Singleton shows you that this is how you do it. Effort requires no talent. When you're in the National Football League, when you step on the field, every single play should matter.
Right.
When you watch this initially, the play, he gets held up at the line of scrimmage because he has to block. When you're on special teams, it's protection first, right, Steve?
Yeah.
So he's sitting back there, and now after a couple seconds, he disengages and starts sprinting down the field. What he does really well is stay in his rush lane, because like Steve just talked about, had Alex Singleton done what 5 other guys did out there on the field, this play is like house call. It's a touchdown. The Broncos don't even come close to making this tackle. But when you have a veteran leader, a guy that does things the right way, a tackling machine, a guy that sits there and says, you know what, coach, I'll do it. If I have to go out there and be on special teams and be the starting linebacker for this team, I will do that. When you have a guy that has that right mindset, great things happen. And look at a good old Jerry Bear special teams being special out there.
Yeah.
You know, so kudos to Jerry Rosberg, because that's huge. In 1 week, he becomes the interim head coach. He's changing things up. He's changing blocking schemes. Yeah, we know there's only 2 weeks left, but you have a veteran guy like Alex Singleton that goes out there and makes a huge play that impacts the game. And special teams were special this past Sunday.
And I bet all those guys on defense were happy too, because they didn't have to go back on the field. Hey, offense, go ahead and do your thing.
Right, exactly. And just what a season Alex Singleton has had.
He really has. He's been super impressive. I was impressed with him when I watched the film for him when we first signed him, just seeing the tackling machine that he was in Philadelphia. And he's brought that same energy here, the same leadership, the same humble, warrior. You know, this guy, he's a warrior. He goes and gets them each and every week.
All right, well, still to come here on Broncos Weekend, we'll touch on a few key matchups you can expect to see this Sunday between the Broncos and Chargers.
I loved watching him play because he was fearless and he just was relentless and he made it look easy.
Demaryius Thomas out over the 45. Here we go.
He could do just about anything on the football field.
DJ breaks a tackle inside the 10. Touchdown, Denver.
He was one of a kind.
Everybody in his life was special.
He was a great leader.
The best teammate.
DT's got it.
His smile lit up a room.
He loved kids and he loved to give back.
Boy, he was just a gift.
Welcome back for this final final segment of Broncos Weekend. Alexis Perry here alongside Steve Atwater and Orlando Franklin. The Broncos head into their final game of the season with a 4-12 record with hopes of capping off the year with a much-needed win in the West. The last time these two teams met, Week 6, they were tied 16 apiece at the end of regulation, but a special teams blunder by the Broncos gave the Chargers perfect field position to kick a field goal for the win. So now as we take a look at the quarterback comparison from that game, neither had an overly impressive game, but since both have shown flashes of their potential. Most recently, Russell Wilson rushing for 2 touchdowns against the Chiefs. So what did you guys like about Russell's game against Kansas City?
The rushing. I like that he saw an opening, he took it, and these were clutch situations. And we've seen times throughout the year where we felt like he could have made a run to get a first down or to score a touchdown. But this was just great execution on his part. He didn't have any fear, no reservations. And also just, he was hitting the open receivers. And, everybody, I'm sure people have seen on YouTube, oh, he's missing all these receivers. No, it didn't happen that frequently, but we don't necessarily know what the timing, who he's looking at first and all those different things. So I thought he played a solid game, except for the one play where he kind of threw it up to, I think he was getting sacked. He just threw it up. Yeah. But I guess he had to do something because, we were in
fourth down, right?
Fourth down. You got to do something,
right?
Yeah.
What I loved was we just talked about those 2 touchdowns. One was a design play where, hey, we're going to call Russell Wilson's number. We're going to allow you to get to the edge and run the football. But there's a lot of moving parts to that, right? You got a guy pulling, a guy coming out the backfield, and Russell Wilson has to really have a timing aspect to the play in order to make that be successful. And then when it all times out the right way, you see him now. I think back in the day when you played the video game, I think it's R2. That's the speed button. So we're able to see Russell Wilson hit that R2 and hit some high knees all the way in the end zone. So great job by him on that design run. But then the other touchdown now where it's actually a pass and it's Russell Wilson scanning the field and now deciding to pull the ball down and make that quick decision to run the football on that second touchdown. But it just looked like the connection of the play calling and everybody understood what the plays that were being called. Everybody really knew and were just in tune to what had to happen in order for those plays to be successful. And when you have that, it's going to be hard to stop because every team tries to account for the 10 other guys but the quarterback. But when you have a quarterback that can go and get you 14 points with his legs, man, you're going to be a dangerous football team.
Yeah, and I got to say that, offensive line, they did a really good job. Now, obviously, there were some plays where we had some breakdowns, but for the most part, they played a really solid game. They held up long enough for us to be able to see who we needed to get the ball to and able to get those balls off. So hats off to the offensive line, too.
Yeah, since Steve gave him a little bit of credit, I'll provide a little bit more context to that, especially with so much on the line. Carlos Dunlap has a $1 million bonus on if he's able to get 2 more sacks. So he was coming last week. Frank Clark, the same exact thing. Incentive because of sacks, right? And then what Chris Jones is. We've seen him twice a year for the last half a decade in the National Football League, and he's an absolute monster. So, yes, the offensive line did do a great job of rising to the occasion. We're just looking for a little bit more consistency.
Right, 100%.
And hopefully they're able to, bring that into this week's game.
Okay, Week 6, Justin Herbert, he threw the football 57 times. That was not designed. How were the Broncos able to force Justin Herbert to throw the football that many times? And really, without much success, he didn't have a single touchdown, and he threw an interception as well. Big O.
Stingy in the run game, right? That's what Coach Everett did a heck of a job of saying, hey, we're going to line up 7 guys in this box, and we're going to dare you to throw the football, and we're going to stop this run. We're not going to give you an inch. So now the expectations for the Chargers become it's got to be a throw fest, and we have the guy and the personnel to do it. Well, they didn't have Keenan Allen in week 1, and Mike Williams didn't come up big because Coach Everett did a heck of a job of saying, hey, 81 could be a game record, and we're going to take him away from Justin Herbert. So when you're doing that, you're going to be able to have success. But earlier in the show, we talked about these other wide receivers that weigh well over 210 pounds. The Broncos did a heck of a job of swarm tackling and rallying to the football. Those stack monsters were running their butts off, and that's the defensive line, turning and getting in pursuit when the ball does get thrown down the field. And it was just collectively a great defensive effort going against Justin Herbert in week 6. Now, could they do it again?
You wonder it. It makes you wonder, though. Now, with Keenan Allen, though, do they try to pass the ball more because they know they have more weapons? And, Austin Eckler, he can catch balls out of the backfield as well.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting. If I had to sit there and say what Coach Everett was going to do with his game plan. Mike Williams, hey, K1 Williams, you're on Mike Williams.
Yes.
Williams on Williams crime.
Yeah.
And then PS2, you got Keenan Allen. Yep. And that's how we're going to match up majority of the time. But you're going to have to put some safety over the top help with Keenan Allen. He's just too good of a player. He creates separation. And him and Justin Herbert, they are absolutely in sync.
Okay, we've talked a lot about Keenan Allen, but another guy that we didn't see week 6, Joey Bosa.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, because it's so much easier when you go into the game and you say, hey, you know what? There's one outside rusher. We have to pay attention to this one person. We could slide the protection to him. We could have a tight end chip on the way out. We could have a running back come and help chip as well. There are multiple different things to just look at Khalil Mack and say we have to eliminate him from the stat box at the end of the game. But now when you have Joey Bosa in there as well, that's where it becomes tricky. So I look at this Broncos offense. Let's get to the quick passing game. There are two guys out there, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, that could absolutely go crazy. Khalil Mack, famous for 5 sacks, right? We hear when he goes to Las Vegas or Oakland Raider back in the day, but he could absolutely go. He has the motor to do it. So look for the Broncos offensively to continue upon last week with that quick passing game. Russell Wilson to have trust in his wide receivers, getting the ball out to Alberto, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, getting the ball out of his hands as fast as possible, and letting those guys account for the yards after the carry, after the catch, where Russ is not sitting back there and just looking for the deep play.
Yeah, most teams are happy if they have one edge rusher. And earlier in the season, hey, the Chargers, they were happy because they had Khalil Mack. Now to throw Bosa in the mix with him, the Broncos are going to have their hands full, and I believe they know that. I agree with you 100%. We're going to have some plays designed to get that ball out early when we're passing the ball. But I'll let you know a little later what I think my main key to the game for us to get the win is. I won't bring it up, but it's coming.
Man, that's crazy. I didn't have keys to the game this week, so I was just going to wrap things up here. Kidding. Actually, I will say, as we do wrap things up here, the Broncos, they really do want to get a win here at home. Week 18 there in front of Broncos country. I know it would really sit well with not only this team, but the fans. So, Steve, why don't you lead us off, my friend? The number one key to victory.
Number one key to victory, I would say, is going to be ball control. And the way we're going to have to control that ball is to hand that ball off to Latavius Murray and Chase Edmonds. I've really, that last game really gave me a good glimpse of what Chase Edmonds can do as that second kind of scat back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can also run the ball hard. He's got the speed to get around the edge, to get the break contain in that, and we haven't seen that in a while. So that's the key. If we can keep Justin Herbert on the sidelines and run our offense, take time off the clock like we did this past week, where we had 33 minutes time of possession versus the Chiefs 27 minutes, I think we can come out of here with the win.
Yeah. So for me, I've watched this whole entire season, right? We're already at the end of this thing, week 18, and Broncos are what are we right now? 4-12 football team. Russell Wilson has got a lot of criticism, whether it's been deserving or not. This game is not about Russell Wilson. This game is about the trenches. It's about the offensive line and the defensive line. If you could win up front as an offensive line, if you could win up front as a defensive line, you will win this football game. So you want to go get a divisional win? Take care of business, offensive line. Keep your quarterback upright and make sure at the end of it all that you rush for over 4 yards a carry. We saw you do that last week against KC with 2 running backs in Latavius Murray and Chase Edmonds. How can you do it again for a second time? Mm-hmm. And keep Russell Wilson off the ground, and you're going to win this football game. Now, defensively, Coach Evero, he has been absolutely amazing this year, and that's why he will get head coaching opportunities this coming offseason and be able to interview. But this defense, there's a guy by the name of Zion Johnson, the right guard for the Chargers. You can attack him. The first time these teams played him, He got multiple penalties out there, and he's a rookie. He's going to be a great football player, but right now he's just too young. You can attack him in order to get Justin Herbert down and force Justin Herbert to make quick and fast decisions, which will now equate to turnovers. So you want to win this football game. You want to make sure that you don't go winless in the division. Win in the trenches, and you will win.
All right, well, sadly, that is all the time we have for this final regular season edition of Broncos Weekend. We really hope to see you guys out there filling the stands at Empower Field at Mile High this Sunday for the final time this season. For Steve Atwater and Orlando Franklin, and of course, our entire Broncos broadcast crew, we appreciate your viewership all season long. Be sure to tune in Tuesday night for Broncos Country Connected on Denver 7 at 6:30, then right here on the Broncos YouTube channel at 7 o'clock. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos, let's go.